the Caspian Sea. This vast body of water you see on the map has been Moscow's untouchable stronghold for centuries. The Kremlin saw this area not just as an energy basin, but as the main logistical artery feeding the war, transporting ammunition from Iran and fuel from Central Asia to the front lines.
Caspian Sea stood as one of Moscow's most secure strategic backyards. On the map, it appeared distant from conflict, far removed from Ukraine's borders and seemingly insulated from the war. For the Kremlin, the inland sea was more than just a body of water. It was the backbone of a trillion-dollar energy empire and a vital logistical artery. Through the Caspian flowed fuel from Central Asia and ammunition from Iran, feeding Russia's war effort without interference. There was no perceived enemy here, no looming threat, only control, confidence and complacency. That illusion has now been violently shattered. What was once considered untouchable has transformed into an active battlefield. Ukraine has fundamentally altered the geography of the war, pushing the conflict deep into Russia's presumed safe zones. The Caspian Sea basin, long viewed as secure, has become a graveyard for critical Russian assets. First came the fires, billion-dollar offshore oil platforms engulfed in flames. Then followed a far more symbolic blow, the destruction of one of the most modern warships assigned to protect those very platforms. With these strikes, Russia lost not just equipment, but the belief that any coordinate on the map remains safe. Today, Ukrainian drones roam the Caspian skies and waters with alarming freedom. The shockwaves from these attacks have rippled far beyond Moscow, triggering unease across the entire region, from the Kazakh steppe to the Chinese border and even along Iran's northern shores. Panic has spread in widening circles, raising a critical question. How did Vladimir Putin's safest energy basin become an international crisis zone? To understand what is unfolding, it is essential to recognise that these are not isolated incidents. A burning platform here, a damaged ship there. This is a methodical, step-by-step strangulation campaign executed with surgical precision. At its core lies a geographic miscalculation. Russia believed the Caspian Sea, located nearly 1,000 kilometres from Ukraine, was beyond reach. That assumption shaped its defences. Air defence coverage here was far looser than around Moscow or the front lines, creating vulnerabilities Ukrainian intelligence would eventually exploit. In early December, that complacency was punished. Ukrainian strikes hit the Filanovsky and Korchagin fields, Russia's most valuable energy assets in the Caspian sector. These were not ordinary oil wells. The Filanovsky field alone holds an estimated 129 million tonnes of oil and 30 billion cubic metres of natural gas, making it the crown jewel of Russia's Caspian energy infrastructure. According to reports citing Ukrainian security sources, the attacks were highly technical in nature. Drones targeted gas turbine units and central processing systems, the nerve centres of the platforms. This distinction matters. Pipelines can be repaired in days, destroy a turbine or control centre, and production can be halted for months. Lukoil's immediate suspension of operations confirmed that the damage was systemic, not cosmetic. But Ukraine did not stop at striking the treasure. It went after the god, protecting it. On December 20th, imagery and reports confirmed that a Project 22,460 Okhotnik-class patrol ship operating in the Caspian Sea had been hit. Open source intelligence analysts later identified the vessel as the Rasul Gamzatov. This was no minor loss. The Rasul Gamzatov was a 630-ton modern patrol ship equipped with advanced sensors and a 30mm AK-630 artillery system. Its mission was clear: protect offshore platforms from air and sea threats and provide early warning coverage. In essence, it served as a floating shield. Striking this ship near the very platforms it was meant to defend amounted to a double checkmate against Russia's defence doctrine. Analysis suggests a complex operation, likely involving Ukrainian Special Operations Forces and unmanned naval or aerial drones that bypassed onboard defences and inflicted serious hull damage. Footage of the vessel being towed away in smoke or left drifting motionless underscored the severity of the hit. A navy exists to safeguard strategic economic assets. In the Caspian Sea, those assets are burning, their protector is crippled, and the perception of security is collapsing. The timing of these attacks further exposes Russia's vulnerability. Between December 11th and 15th, the platforms were struck repeatedly. Moscow appears to have responded by increasing patrol activity, deploying ships like the Rasul Gamzatov more aggressively. Yet just days later, that very response was neutralised. Ukraine anticipated Russia's countermeasures and punished them almost immediately, sending a clear message: there are no longer any safe zones in the Caspian Sea, no place to hide, rest or resupply. Even before the smoke cleared, the economic shockwaves reached Moscow's financial core. These operations go far beyond tactical military success. They represent a layered economic siege aimed squarely at Russia's energy revenues, the financial engine of the war. The immediate impact is clear: halted production. Lukoil's suspension at Filanovsky and Korchalgin alone removes millions of tons of annual output for a state already constrained by sanctions. Shutting down a field producing roughly 6 million tons a year creates a serious cash flow crisis. But the damage does not stop at extraction. Ukraine has also targeted the exit routes. The Caspian Pipeline Consortium terminal in Novorossiysk, the main artery linking Caspian oil to global markets, has come under attack. Ukrainian naval drones reportedly rendered one of its single-point mooring buoys inoperable, dealing a strategic blow to Russia's export capability. The result is logistical chaos. Oil cannot be efficiently pumped from the wells, nor loaded onto ships for sale. Production and distribution are being choked simultaneously. The macroeconomic consequences are alarming for the Kremlin. Even state-acknowledged figures show Russia's oil and gas revenues down 34% year on year. This decline cannot be attributed to market forces alone. It reflects a deliberate effort to dry up the funding stream sustaining the war. Ukrainian strategy appears focused on trapping Russia in a perpetual repair cycle, fixing refineries, platforms and terminals faster than they can produce. Over time, experts warn metal fatigue and repeated thermal stress could cause irreversible failures. Equally damaging is the reputational fallout. Russia's image as a reliable energy supplier is eroding rapidly. Insurance firms now classify the Caspian Sea and the port of Novorossiysk as war risk zones. Premiums for tankers have surged, raising costs and slashing profit margins. Even when Russia manages to sell oil, it does so at a steep discount and heightened risk. And the ripple effects extend inward. In a striking irony, an energy superpower is struggling to fuel its own population. Long queues at gas stations in recent months and a government-imposed gasoline export ban highlight how refinery strikes have shaken the domestic market. The shutdown of Caspian platforms adds another strain, bringing the cost of war directly into Russian daily life. Militarily, Ukraine's campaign is forcing impossible choices. Where does Russia deploy its air defences at the front around Moscow or now in the Caspian Sea? It cannot protect everything at once. By opening this new front, Ukraine is turning geography itself into a weapon, stretching Russian defences thin and draining resources. Strategically, the implications reach far beyond the battlefield. The Caspian explosions are reshaping Eurasia's geopolitical fault lines. This is no longer just a bilateral conflict. It signals the erosion of Russia's dominance over its so-called backyard. Kazakhstan's response is telling. With the Caspian and Novorossiysk routes now unreliable, Astana has reportedly activated plans to send oil from the massive Kashagan field directly to China, bypassing Russia altogether. For Moscow, this is a diplomatic nightmare. Control over energy transit once gave Russia leverage over Central Asia. That leverage is slipping away, replaced by growing Chinese influence. Meanwhile, signals from Washington suggest a broader shift. Sources indicate that Ukraine's deep strikes on Russian energy infrastructure now carry tacit Western approval, possibly supported by intelligence sharing. With global oil markets well supplied and prices subdued, the long-held fear that attacking Russian oil would trigger a price shock has faded. This calculation has emboldened Kiev to press harder. The sinking of the Rasul Gamzatov fits squarely into this broader strategy. What analysts describe as blinding the bear beyond its weapons. The ship served as a surveillance node. Its loss weakens Russia's ability to monitor movements across the Caspian, including supply routes involving Iran. Moscow now faces the risk of being blind and deaf in its own inland sea. In the end, the Caspian front is squeezing Russia from every direction. Economically, revenues are drying up. Militarily, defences are breached. Diplomatically, allies are seeking exits. The image of an unassailable Russia is dissolving alongside the smoke rising from burning platforms. What we are witnessing may not just be the destruction of infrastructure, but the end of an era. By achieving what once seemed impossible, Ukraine has shattered the myth of Russia's untouchable backyard. The Caspian Sea is no longer a sanctuary, it is a trap. The energy ATM that financed power and war now flashes insufficient funds. The message is unmistakable. There is no corner of Russian land, sea or air beyond the reach of this conflict. And as the world redraws the map of Russian power, one reality is becoming clear. On that new map, Moscow has nowhere left to feel safe.